Welcome to the voice of Justin Agustin, the health and wellness podcast to help you become a stronger and healthier version of you. Episode 2, Find Your Why. We all start for a reason. I was a shy little kid growing up, soft-spoken, never really talked much, at least not unless spoken to. I grew up in a small suburban neighborhood called chiIdhood. We moved there when I was about 5 years old. It's located in the province of Quebec, and I'm not sure if you know much about this part of the world, but it's predominantly French-speaking. I wasn't born there, so I couldn't speak a lick of French. I remember my first day of school, people just looked at me like I was some alien. I stood out. There weren't many Asian kids in our town at the time, especially not in my school. I was really short for my age. Before I hit puberty, you could mistake me for a toddler. Or at least that's how I felt with all my classmates towering over me. I was the easy target for bullies. I never knew what they said, but I do remember them laughing and pointing. I didn't really get beaten up in the traditional sense, but I was shoved and pushed and tripped a lot. After a few years, I grew taller and learned language, and the bullying kind of faded away, but I always had this chip on my shoulder, and I was still the quiet kid. I had no confidence whatsoever, and I remember my first years of high school, someone tried pushing me around again. Nothing crazy, just your typical shove on the shoulder by the locker type thing, but I wasn't going to have it this time. That same evening after school, I dropped down to the floor in my bedroom and started doing push-ups. My plan was to get stronger. That was the first time I ever set a fitness goal, and my goal was to be strong enough to defend myself. Towards the end of high school, I was a little taller at this point. Not tall by any means, but taller. My parents signed me up to Little League when I was much younger, but I outgrew it by this age. I was into something new. Basketball was my new sport. I didn't need many friends to play. I spent most of my recess and lunch shooting hoops by myself. I started alone, just me, the ball, and the hoop. As days went by, I met a few nice kids on the court, mostly English speaking with immigrant parents as well. They asked if I wanted to join their 2-on-2 half court, and it became kind of like a lunch break routine. We connected and playing ball became our thing. One day we saw flyers posted up about some basketball tryouts for the high school team. All my baller friends spoke about trying out, and I wanted to try out too, but there was only one issue. I was significantly shorter than everyone. We all know in basketball, your height advantage can make the difference. My shot was good from all that time practicing my free throws alone. My speed and agility was great from all those years of baseball. I had a chance, but I knew if I was going to make it on the team, I had to make those two other factors stand out. No matter how much milk I could attempt to drink, there was no way I was going to grow an extra foot by October. So I had to work on my skill level, enough for it to stand out in the eyes of the coach. And that's what I did. I brought my basketball everywhere I went. I dribbled and practiced my handling on the way to school in the morning. I worked out on my fadeaway, my jump shot, my free throws at recess. I worked on my cardio and speed after school, doing sprints up and down the driveway. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I had to do something to get on that team. I set myself a fitness goal without even knowing it. My goal was to perform good enough to get on that team. And I did. I went to college in the big city. Coming from a small town, I was a little intimidated. My college was located smack downtown. My self-confidence wasn't the highest yet. I mean, it improved being a high school basketball player, but from a small town, from a small school, that didn't really mean much in this new college I was attending. Or at least that's what I told myself. We have our ways of seeing less of ourselves, bringing ourselves down, and I was really good at it. I think those years of being bullied really convinced me that I was a little nobody. Starting college was almost like a replay of my first day in elementary. No bullying, but I kind of felt out of place. There's something about downtown colleges and the people who attend I couldn't really relate to. Girls wore high fashion clothing, guys pulled up in their fancy cars. There's a lot of flashiness. I couldn't relate, nor did I want to, but these environments have a way of making one feel a little outcast or totally suck away the little confidence that you might have. Naturally, I would have gravitated towards the athletes, me thinking I was actually one of them, only to realize that college basketball players were actually superstars, almost like celebrities, and that wasn't me. One day I was in my humanities class and I met a really chill guy by chance. He was soft-spoken like me, but not out of shyness. It was a strong, silent, commanding presence. He was built, although you never really saw it because he would always wear sweaters, but you knew he was strong. As we got to know each other over the semester, he spoke a lot about lifting. In other words, bodybuilding. This was much before the YouTube and social media era, so all the information that you would get about bodybuilding, weightlifting was literally inside the gym. Me being a person who yearned physical activity, I wanted to learn more about this type of sport. So he took me to his gym. When I walked in, the atmosphere was like none other. The sounds of weights smashing, the people grunting, showing their power for each repetition, the look of dedication on everyone's face, and the confidence that every single person had in that room from all that muscle they were packing was something I've never experienced before. I wanted to be a part of it. I almost immediately signed up for a gym membership at that exact gym. My goal was to build strength and build the confidence that all these bodybuilders had. Fast forward about a decade later, in my 30s, my world was flipped upside down. I got the news that my sister Nally was diagnosed with cancer. She had breast cancer that metastasized to her lungs and then to her brain. It was a journey of 8 years and I witnessed her fight with all her might. Her goal was to improve her quality of life despite her diagnosis. She did everything in her power to improve her health. She focused on eating nutritious foods, walked her dog daily, did yoga and stretching, and nourished her mind with books and meditated often. She was the most resilient person I've ever met. It wasn't easy. She had days when she could barely move from side effects of her treatment. In the later years of her journey, she lost the ability to walk as part of her balance and sight was fading due to vertigo. Nonetheless, she continued to work out at her level and continued to focus on nutrition and everything that she could control. Everything is super important until you become sick. Then you realize there was only ever one thing that was important: your health. She knew that personally. I do believe everything she did in those 8 years really helped her extend her life to its maximum potential. During her cancer journey, she traveled the world as a famous motivational speaker and author of her own best-selling book, The Diary of Nally. She was the symbol of hope for many who are walking the same path as her. We saw her live her dreams even with her stage 4 diagnosis, and she looked healthy, and she certainly looked strong. She was living her life to the fullest. This was only possible because of the work she personally put in to maintain her health. My sister Nally sadly passed away in 2022. As much as it hurts, I do believe that she left everything on the court. That's a sports expression. Coaches always say, leave everything on the court or leave everything on the ice, on the field, whatever sport you're playing. It just means to do everything that you can while you're in play so that there's no regret after the game. You did everything you could on the court. Being by her side for those years, my own health and fitness goals have changed. I no longer care about building muscle for the looks. I most certainly no longer worry about bullies or making a basketball team. I just want to live my life to its fullest. I want to be healthy enough to enjoy the miracles of everyday life. And that's the only thing my sister ever wanted. And she did everything in her power to stay breathing to see another day. She left everything on the court, and I want to do the same. My only goal since then is to stay healthy and strong for as long as I can. I owe it to her. We all do. One of the things that she preached was the idea that our body is a temple and we need to love and care for it. We were given the miracle of life and we should never take our health for granted because our life is special and worth living and fighting for. Goals change over time, just like mine did. But what drives us is not necessarily the goal itself, but what's beneath it. It's what we call our why. Why am I doing this anyway? Why did I even set this goal? If you're unsure on how to find your why, Ask yourself why 4 times. Let me do it for myself. In elementary school, I did push-ups every day. My goal was to build strength. Why? Because I wanted to be tougher. Why? Because I wanted to fight off the bullies. Why? Because I wanted to be happier in school. In high school, I trained to improve my basketball every day. Why? Because I wanted to get faster and more skilled. Why? Because I wanted to be the best basketball player. Why? So I can make it on the team. Why? So I can be part of a team, a part of something, and not just this little loner kid that's always alone. In college, I joined the gym to build muscle. Why? Because I didn't want to get intimidated anymore. Why? Because I was still lacking confidence, which is something I struggled with growing up. Why? Because I didn't want to be an outcast. Not again. I want to walk around with my head up high, proud of who I am. Today, I work out to stay healthy and strong. Why? Because I need to be healthy so I can live my life to its fullest and do amazing things like travel the world, grow my brand, and build my business, and continue to inspire the world. Why? Because life is worth living to its maximum potential, just like my sister did with her life. I know she had no regrets when she transitioned, and I think that's what life is about. I invite you to find your why. You have one, you have many. You started your fitness journey with a goal, but I want you to dig deeper than that and ask yourself, why? Why did you start this journey of yours? Ask yourself why again and again and again. Write it down, and when you feel like giving up, when you feel like it's not worth it, when you don't feel like showing up, look at your whys and realize that it is worth it. Your life is worth it. Thank you for tuning in to the voice of Justin Agustin, and I'll see you at the next episode.